Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new online event on the 3Cs initiative under our partnership framework. We have the honor and pleasure to have with us today Mrs. Dorota Zolokowska from Eastern Europe Study Center in Lithuania and Mr. Olaf Nickers, founder of the Baltic Security Foundation, tuning in from Washington. We're here to speak about the 3Cs initiative, but also beyond the European cooperation, we're seeking to discover beyond the transatlantic partnership. What is the transatlantic partnership today within the framework of the 3Cs initiative? Now, the 3Cs initiative has had a long way since its inception in 2015. Smart connectivity, transport, energy. But since then, Europe has faced many events that might challenge or might be points of opportunity for the 3Cs initiative. I would like to begin with Mrs. Dorota. Please, what is the general perception of the 3Cs initiative in Lithuania? Has there any change been taking place? Please.
Nice to meet you all, and thank you for inviting me. Generally, I would say that 3Cs initiative is viewed positively in Lithuania, and although Lithuania is strongly committed primarily to European Union, it sees 3Cs initiative as a supplement for this main format of European cooperation, especially what you have mentioned, the energy security, the interconnectivity, infrastructural projects. They all appear to be a very important part of Lithuanian agenda, and especially since the war in Ukraine started, and with the invitation for Ukraine to join the 3Cs initiative done at Riga summit this year. Lithuania views the format not only from the perspective of its economics, but also its geopolitics.
For Lithuania, what conclusions were drawn in the 3Cs initiative summit in Riga? From a political stand, do we see a particular change? I mean, we understand that Lithuania was not from the founding countries, but one country that joined later on. So do we expect significant change in the coming months?
The significant change, I would say that the main components of this 3Cs initiative for Lithuania, energy security and digital security, digitalization, from the inception of Lithuania to the format in 2016, now we see those components not only through the economics, but also from geopolitics, because as the president of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda, said on summit, not only in Riga, but year before, digital security and infrastructural security is not only important for the economics, but also for geopolitics. And Lithuania strongly sees the format through geopolitical lenses, and I would say that it will be so in the future.
Indeed, I mean, it's quite important in this day, especially you mentioned the war in Ukraine and how this might have certain repercussions for the 3Cs initiative to materialize. Speaking about materialization, dear Olives, what can you tell us on the other side of the Atlantic? How is the United States perceiving the 3Cs initiative? We understand that we received quite a substantial support, but has this support indeed materialized?
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. Hello from Washington, D.C. Of course, which is happening at this side of the ocean, and which is a remarkable game changer in 3Cs initiative project, is that of great interest of United States in this initiative, and strong commitment to invest, to provide solid resources into this initiative, which has the potential to add a transatlantic dimension to this project, which provides completely different. Which sets completely different stage of this endeavor, and of course provides this transatlantic dimension, which actually is which has been a crucial since the beginning of the project many years ago.
Indeed, I mean, it is no surprise, and indeed, as you mentioned, how the participation of the United States can substantially help the 3C initiative to move further. Now, this was surprisingly seen in the years of Mr. Donald Trump as President of the United States, where he actually voiced and he expressed his support to the initiative, and then President Biden as well. However, what is of concern at the moment is the midterm elections, and definitely the future presidential elections in the upcoming year. Do you believe that the midterm election will eventually or consequently end up in a change of heart? Would the United States have a different approach to this after the midterms or even after the next presidential elections?
I would like to say that in the light of discussions within the think tank community and being of this issue I think a bipartisan support of U.S. engagement, I would not predict that much would change due to midterm elections or those political shifts. Here, it's I think those commitments we see a growing trend in this on the side of United States.
Let me go back to Dorota. You mentioned Ukraine, and it's also a topic that we discuss in former events and former panels. Do the Baltics, and especially Lithuania, does Lithuania see or expect any collaboration with Ukraine under the 3C framework, and how would this collaboration look like?
It would be hard for me to say anything on behalf of all the Baltic states, but if it concerns Lithuania, I would say that Lithuania provides unambiguous support for Ukraine's accession to the format. And in terms of Lithuanian will to help with even the grain transfer and matters tightly connected with the war, which is still happening, I would say that now we are in the position of helpers, even on diplomatic level. And then when the war ends, I would think that there will be no doubts with the Ukraine accession, because it's even geographically is within the format and within the geography of 3 seas, and it connects one more sea to be quite frank. And now through helping and later on with collaboration, I wouldn't say that Lithuania will be against. Absolutely no.
Indeed, I mean, you have rightly pointed out. I mean, geographically, we need, let's say, Ukraine to be part as well of the initiative, given of its geographical location. Let me ask you the same question, Olives. What is the perception of Latvia in this regard? I understand that the Baltic Security Foundation also, I mean, is you're in Washington right now, but also you can comment on the Latvian perception.
The Baltic Security Foundation is still based in Riga, in Latvia, but I am present with my research project here in DC for a while. But of course, Latvia is demonstrating a commitment towards even stronger commitment towards this the project and initiative, and also there is a strong support towards Ukraine's engagement as much as possible. And after the end of the war, this is, I think here we fully agree in the Baltic countries, and what Dorota was saying, that it has a crucial importance for us in the region, for Ukraine to be engaged as much as possible.
You mentioned the smart connectivity and also energy security. Now, I would like to dig a little bit deeper into this digital infrastructure. It is well known that Estonia is a leading country in digitalization, but more recently, Latvia and Lithuania are catching up. So, and they're known for their advanced digital infrastructure. So, how can the Baltics, and more specifically to you, Dorota, Lithuania, further support other member states from the 3 initiative in this ambit? For instance, in the sense of assisting in modernizing southern partners, for instance, Bulgaria or Romania. How would this further collaboration look like?
I would mention one example, very clear example. Lithuania was an initiator in 2020 of the funding of the EU Cyber Rapid Reaction Team. It's the multinational team which unites mindful, like-minded European members, European Union members, especially, namely Lithuania, Croatia, Estonia, Poland, Romania, and the Netherlands. So not all those countries are a part of the Free Seas Initiative, but most of them are. And this unit, this team, is based and was established in order to rapidly react to the cybersecurity threats, which is of course not a new thing in the region, but of course since the war in Ukraine started, it only has intensified. And this format of connecting countries, connecting experts from those countries, not only military ones but also civil ones, could serve as an example what could be done in the field of digital security, digitalization, which is one of the aims of the Free Seas Initiative, because Lithuania has seen that this format is quite successful. And even now in Kaunas, the second biggest city in Lithuania, the regional cybersecurity center operates, which connects Lithuanians with Ukrainians and Georgians, and this center, especially now, is working very successfully to counter and analyze those threats coming from Russia. Especially, it is helpful now for Ukrainians, which are the part of the initiative. So I think that even this small example of setting kind of cooperative units, cooperative organizations could be an example for the future what could be done in this field. Because as I have said in the beginning, Lithuania sees a lot of those objectives of the Free Seas Initiative as from the security perspective, from the geopolitical perspective.
Indeed, and well, I think you already answered my next question, which was whether Lithuania was looking more at fostering private-led initiatives, or it was going to aim for more public-endorsed frameworks. As you said, I believe it is a combination of both of these opportunities. Olives, let me just follow up on this line of conversation on the war in Ukraine. It has definitely taken a center stage for many of the members of the 3 Seas Initiative, but what can you tell us about the trade-offs in investment and procurement? I mean, on the one hand, we are supporting Ukraine as much as we can and as much as the partner countries can. However, most of this has taken all the attention and all the focus from this development of the 3 Seas Initiative towards helping Ukraine. Do you believe that the advancement of the 3 Seas Initiative is to be sidelined in this given context? Or is there still room to catch up to all of this focus lost?
Yes, this is indeed. Here we see this debate and discussion whether war in Ukraine is undermining this project and 3 Seas Initiative perspectives. I would like to say, and I would like to argue, that in fact this situation gives us a moment of opportunity through which we can really like getting this importance, all geopolitical energy dimension and all others, all other opportunities which we see definitely in this project, in this endeavor. So I would say that of course while we are helping Ukraine and which is which has a greatest significance, at the same time this moment gives us an excellent opportunity to value the importance of interconnectivity, the importance and significance of what is possible to achieve within this format of cooperation. So I see here a window of opportunity in the context of which is happening. That tragedy which is happening to Ukraine gives us that momentum which we can, which we should use this opportunity, and I think my take would be much more positive in this sense.
Indeed, speaking about opportunities, Dorota, a few weeks ago, or more to say, in October, to be precise, the Baltic states and Japan agreed to strengthen cooperation. Can we expect, in your opinion, a major Japanese investment in the region, especially in this particular framework?
It was very unique and very interesting development because on the part of Lithuania, it was the initiative of our current government, which is very ambitious, because now we're trying to broaden up our network of cooperation, bilateral primarily, around the world. And I think it could be seen in the framework of Lithuania's value-based foreign policy, which of course is tightly connected with its economical cooperations around the world. And Lithuania sees Japan as its not only economical or political partner, but also as a country which shares Lithuanian values and Lithuanian outlooks on the world. So it was a big topic for Lithuania recently. It's harder to speak about the concrete investments, as in the case of Taiwan, because it's still undergoing and negotiations and those trying to build up connections are still underway. And they unfortunately do not happen in one night or one day. But I think that Lithuania takes those steps not only as unilaterally as a country, but also having in mind its Free Seas initiative partnership and also European Union Global Gateway. So I would hope for those investments, but I would like to stress that it's something very new for Lithuania, and we are starting to do those things, starting to take more global outlook on possible developments and on possible corporations. But there is no doubt that it will be beneficiary not only for Lithuania or Baltic states alone, but also for the format and to a lesser extent for European Union.
Indeed. Actually, you mentioned one of the topics of interest in this discussion. I mean, we speak in the broader terms about the Three Seas Initiative, but it's beyond, obviously, the fruitful transatlantic cooperation that might be. So in this regard is the cooperation with Taiwan. Particularly noting that Lithuania inaugurated a trade office in Taipei recently, and similarly Taiwan opened its office in Vilnius, to which we understand that Beijing had several criticisms, and obviously Beijing exposed these criticisms. So what is of interest to us in listening and also analyzing is how do we envisage the role of Taiwan in the Three Seas Initiative? We understand there's a big future of investment in Lithuania, especially in the realm of semiconductors. So how do we see this playing out, especially for technology, digitalization, obviously energy technologies? So please, could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, I would like to answer this question by paying attention to one fact that I would say that Lithuania, to an extent, sees Three Seas Initiative as a substitution to the 16+1 format, which Lithuania has left several years ago, and it was a choice of more regional-based partnerships and more value-connecting partnerships. So everything with what is done now in the name of cutting ties with China by Lithuania, not only alone, but it could benefit the not only the country but the format itself. So I would say that there is some kind of a connection between our fight, our conflict with China, and paying attention to Taiwan and opening up the embassy, like the representative office in Vilnius. I'm not sure what's Taiwanese outlook on the format itself. Maybe it's not that important compared to the recognition of Lithuania. But I would propose to think about this question in the format I proposed, that we left the 16+1 format and we committed more to the more regional, to more appropriate for us in our view format, Three Seas Initiative. And thus our actions could be understood via this outlook.
It is true that as the regionalism, let's say, strengthens and we see more integration, we become a front that has drawn several points of attention, especially to from China and Russia. So, Olev, where do you see exactly China and Russia playing out in this? I mean, from a Latvian perspective or from a Washington perspective, do you believe this indeed can pose a threat? I mean, certainly, if Ukraine was to formally join, we would become a strong front.
Yeah, of course, which is obvious, which is actually one of the major concerns for the United States, and also it's a growing concern and really something that we realize in Europe and in the Baltic Sea region, that Chinese presence and engagement in the region has their very particular political reasons, and we are not anymore in that quite naive perception of China's investment and China's engagement and actions and activities in the region as it was before. So I would like to say that when there is a valid question why we are not investing, why somebody else as China should invest in the critical infrastructure objects that actually we need for ourselves, which is really our own concern, and the Three Seas Initiative is an answer to that question. That of course we should make those investments. We should find those resources ourselves. We should not wait for China's investment. There are great potential in our hands and a great instrument that we can utilize, and the Three Seas Initiative is a great opportunity for this, and a very good answer to projects which were pushed forward by Chinese over the past years, and Latvia as well are among the countries who left this Belt and Road initiative this year. So I think we are in good standing, having that potential which lies within the Three Seas initiative in this regard. And if we are going to Russia, considering Russia's position and role, I think Russia has completely failed for any future considerations, and so this is in regard for the future developments. This is something out of any possible contexts and perspectives. So, but this is good that we have very good answer to China's those activities and what they are doing.
Indeed, and that brings me to my next question, precisely because the Three Seas initiative is compiled of individual countries. Collectively, there is no perspective or no perception about a collective Chinese policy. Now, you mentioned one key thing, that is investment and resources. How, in your perspective, could the partner countries resolve if it will come to be a disagreement about where these resources come from and how to properly apply them? I mean, pretty sure that political divergences might occur. What would, in your opinion, be the most viable way to overcome this?
Of course, governments of European countries should be aware, as well as businesses and private sector should be mostly aware of what China's investment means. Regretfully, we see quite successful projects which China was able to accomplish in Germany, in particular ports, as well as other places, and these are this is something that should be avoided regardless of possible benefits, possible financial advantages, which of course is quite a problematic. And in the recently conducted study by the Baltic Security Foundation on Chinese engagement in the Baltic Sea region, actually this study is coming out this week. It's shocking. It's not only shocking how persistent are China with their engagement in the Baltic Sea region and in particular countries, but also how private sector is driving these developments. And sometimes there is a disconnection between how governments realize and how on the level of politics it's being understood, and that awareness are contradicting with particular business interests and which are driven by the private companies, and this also is somehow connected to the politics at the end of the day. So those challenges are this is something that we should overcome in our region, and hopefully Three Seas initiative will be a great instrument that would give those answers to the private businesses, but we should consolidate our positions. We should be unified. Those private-public partnerships should be utilized more efficiently in this regard, and there should be a line of better understanding in the whole parts of our society where we are standing and where we are going and what are the challenges. So again and again, we should really appreciate those instruments which potentially in the future and currently are in front of us in terms of Three Seas initiative and all those opportunities.
Thank you, Olives. Dorota, so I would like to similarly ask to Dorota the same of question. Since we have spoken about Japan, we have spoken about Taiwan, now about China. I mean, Lithuania has certainly had a rough moment with China lately, especially now that the EU has taken legal action against China over Lithuania to the WTO. So how could this present a challenge in the coming months for Lithuania, and how do we see, or how can we see the development of this, or the resolution of this, or even the impact of this on the Three Seas initiative?
It's certainly very hard to guess or to make some predictions in this topic, because I would say that these processes are still developing, still underway, and they are still won't be ended and it won't be finished. That one day China says something or Lithuania says something and we are done. But answering to your previous question and what my colleague has said before, I would like to propose to see, to an extent, of course, because any analogy in the context of politics or history, they're not very precise. But you mentioned Germany and its relation to China and Chinese investment. Before the war in Ukraine started, escalated this year, but before even 2014, there was no clear consensus in the Western Europe about the cooperation or relations with Russia, because, for example, Germany saw its economical policy, economical investments and cooperation as a way to maybe make Russia democratic or else. And each country has different outlook and different perspective on what the relations with Russia should be. And now there's no clear consensus on China. In this context, Baltic states, together with Poland, with Czech Republic to an extent, but this bloc of Baltic states and Poland especially, we were advocating for seeing Russia as this, for having very strict position vis-a-vis Russia. And after the war started, we said that we are finally being heard, that our Western colleagues, Western friends, wouldn't want to listen to us before the war, and now we could say that we were right. I don't want to say that after a couple of years, Lithuania will pop up and say, "Oh, look at me, I was right, and I cut my relations and cut my ties to China before you," or "Why didn't you listen to me before?" It's not the point of that analogy, but the point is that it's very hard to say how the consensus is built. We have maybe no consensus on the level of Free Seas Initiative, and we have no consensus on the level of European Union, not only in terms of Chinese policy but also Russian policy. So while we don't know how the consensus is built, but we're still paying all the diplomatic efforts to build that consensus. It's very important to stand on your feet and your opinion, not only rhetorical one, but also to be prepared for the outcomes, for the results of your political position, which may be economical ones, diplomatical ones, whatever. Because our conflict or vis-a-vis China showed that those results can come in many different ways, but. What I would advise maybe is to raise that awareness and to cooperate more with like-minded countries as Latvia, Estonia, etc. To be not only the only one player in the field, but try to make those different cooperational groups which would connect countries which have the same opinion, and then of course this voice will be stronger just in terms of quantity, and of course to look for the quality too.
Indeed.
If I may add
please.
here, sorry, yeah. the paradox of this situation are in the fact that actually Western countries, Germany and others, were kind of ahead of us, like a few years ago, ahead of us in kind of that, of being aware of what China is about, being in that position to understand those things much faster and also arrive to certain conclusions. But at the end, actually, we in the Baltics, which we realized little later, at least I would say for Latvia, but this understanding, this awareness is more solid and really, Dorota, of course, we are in kind of a better and more realistic position in this regard at the end.
Well, we are certainly on the way, and being on the way, also, I would like to present a final question for you both, if I may, a little bit idealistic, but still necessary. First, Dorota, I would like to know, as a final question from a Baltic perspective, or now from a Lithuanian perspective, can the Three Seas Initiative actually become a lifeline for European energy security? And also, how would Lithuania conceive Polish role in this regard?
It's a very interesting question. And now, regarding the energy security, it was, I would say, the most important component out of the main three in the Free Seas Initiative agenda for Lithuania for a long time, especially before we established the gas terminal in Klaipėda, Independence, very symbolic name for it. But now with the cooperation with Poland, with Polish-Lithuanian pipeline GILP opened up this year, I would name those, and I would say that these are first steps. And of course, as we see in Lithuania, speaking with government officials, with experts in the field, we now have to face the problem of, not the problem of, but acknowledge the fact that format is quite new and it is quite big. And Lithuania is good at setting up cooperation with neighbor countries, for example, primarily Poland, but also Latvia, Estonia. But Free Seas Initiative is not only your neighbors; it's a bit more. It's a sub-regional format, and in order to speak about some very concrete and very crucial energy system, energy supply, which would connect all the countries participating in format, we would have to go beyond seeing only our closest neighbors, which is hard in terms of agenda, it's hard in terms of diplomacy, it's hard even in terms of humane outlook, because it needs a lot of political attention, bureaucratic attention, which unfortunately is still lacking in Lithuania. If we are speaking about Free Seas Initiative, because we are only starting to understand the need, and a lot of projects and discussions about it, those are taking place only now. Although we took part and we connected to the format back in 2016. So we are nearing the 10 years anniversary slowly, but we can see a lot of positive examples, and especially having in mind the war in Ukraine, which showed all our Europe our weakest points in terms of energy security. I would hope for the more attention and the more cooperation within the format. And you asked in your question about cooperation with Poland. I guess that happily now Lithuania and Poland as strategic allies, and all those unfortunate and tragic events in the region, they only show the need and the importance of this partnership, and it will continue to develop and to be strengthened. Of course, independently of changing governments, changing presidents, because I would say that it's inevitable, having in mind our geography and our position.
Indeed, quite interesting. I mean, your last remarks, and I would like to express before I move to Oleg as for my last question. I would just like to highlight, indeed, that you're very much correct. It's the Three Seas Initiative is not supposed to be a framework just to collaborate with your neighboring countries, but also with all countries that integrate the initiative, right? And actually, tomorrow we also have an event still on the same framework, within the same framework, but exploring Bulgaria and Croatia perspective on the Three Seas Initiative. I would like to invite also everyone to tune in for this, including our guest today, to also hear their perspective and to precisely see where exactly can we actually cooperate and implement these changes. Now, I understand that we have a little bit of time constrainer, so I will just quickly turn to Olevs with the same question and the opinion from across the Atlantic. Olevs, do you really believe that 3Cs initiative can become the lifeline for Europe and, well, from all across the world? Do you see it happening?
Of course, I would like to emphasize again, it's a great opportunity. It's a great transatlantic opportunity. It's an opportunity for Europe, for European Union, for wider European region, also all the Baltic Sea, countries of the Baltic Sea region. And if I may answer a question on Poland, I would say that Poland is a critical part. Our partnership with Poland is a critical part, considering regional security aspects for the Baltic countries, and as well, of course, the wider regional dimension is critical, and we're really happy to see that the United States are also joining the mission to make us separately stronger.
Well, indeed, 7 years have passed since the beginning of the project. Hopefully, for the next couple of years before the 10th year anniversary, we can see some materialization more than we have achieved already. And, well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for presenting. Dorota Solokowska from the Eastern Europe Study Center in Lithuania, Olev Snickers, Baltic Security Foundation from Washington and Latvia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.